Hello and welcome back to another episode from the Debate Gate Sports Podcast. Today, bringing you this episode in a very flexible location. I'm currently on vacation, so that is why you see this elaborate background behind me. But been busy with a lot of things lately, so that's why this MLB rank is kind of going to be combined between May and June. I could not get this done before the end of May. I am sorry, but it's still going to be great. I hope you guys enjoy it. And since I'm filming this in such an interesting and awkward location, if you guys would not mind, please subscribe or drop a like on the video if you enjoy this type of content. My co-host Josh and I reproduce content like this all the time. You know, Josh has a video coming about baseball pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that. But anyways, let us get into it. At number 30, we do have the Baltimore Orioles, who in my opinion are the worst team in the MLB. Honestly, the first five teams you can honestly say are interchangeable between who is the worst. In my opinion, it was the Baltimore Orioles. Really, there's nothing to get excited about. They just do not have anybody besides Trey Mancini and Cedric Mullins that is playing good this year. I couldn't name very many of the players that are on the Orioles. It's just a rebuilding year. Their starting pitching has been like nothing. I think 5.54 ERA between the five guys, one of the worst in the league. The only person who's really been making any noise is Trey Mancini. He had 6 home runs and 27 RBIs in the month of May. But other than that, like I said, it's a rebuilding year. The Orioles were not in any position to win much this year, and that is why they're 30th on my list. At number 29, we do have the Pittsburgh Pirates, who also, like I said, could be in the 30th position right now. They're literally the worst in about everything. They only had 19 home runs in May and 109 runs, which were both last in the league. In such a home run-driven league, if you have less than 1 home runs per game, you're just not bound to win many games, and that's why the Pirates have not won many games. The best player would be Brian Reynolds, who hit 295 and had 16 RBIs in the month of May. But other than that, similar to the Orioles, it just really has not been the year for the Pirates. I would not want to be a Pirates fan right now because unlike the Orioles and some of these other teams, they do not have as much of a bright future. So I have Pittsburgh coming in at 29th. At number 28, we have the Arizona Diamondbacks. And oh my God, this team has been such a disappointment. They are honestly, I was tempted to put them last, but their record was not as bad as the other two teams. But nothing has gone right for Arizona. They've been so disappointing. The pitching is just abysmal. The hitting has terrible. Anybody besides Ketel Marte has done nothing. Christian Walker, David Peralta, these guys have just been bad. April, May, and June. Marte has been injured for a little while, so that nothing has really gone right for the Diamondbacks. They've been extremely disappointing to me. I thought they would be much better than this. They even had like a 13-game losing streak, I believe, something ridiculous like that. They come here in at number 28. At number 27, we have the Colorado Rockies, who again, much like these other few teams, have really nothing to show for. It's going to be a rebuilding year. The only person who is really worth talking about is Trevor Story, who expect the Rockies to dump him at the trade deadline. He does have some trade value that other teams are interested in. On the pitching side of things, Kyle Freeland, who's supposed to be Colorado's young pitcher, has not been good. He has been injured, I will say that, but in his 3 starts, he has 6.23 ERA, so he is coming back. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on him and how he bounces back from his injury, because he's the really only bright spot on the pitching side of things for Colorado. Other than that, like I said, they're rebuilding, one of the worst teams in the league. At number 26, we do have the Texas Rangers, who have no talent whatsoever. This is the theme. The best starting pitcher is Kyle Gibson, who did have a really good month of May, 1.95 ERA. For the hitting side of things, Joey Gallo is doing what Joey Gallo does. That's low for average, but he does have 8 home runs, so a very high ISO. And Nate Lau, who is I expected to be at least decent, just as like a second guy behind Gallo. He is officially bad. He's barely over 200, hitting over 200. Texas is just bad. Again, they do have some prospects coming up, so they shouldn't be bad for too long. But right now, the talent is just not it. That's why they're at 26th. At number 25, we do have the Detroit Tigers, who it is another year in the basement for Detroit in the AL Central. It's been like this for the last few years. However, they have not been terrible in terms of starting pitching and hitting. I think they were like top 18, top 15 in like starting pitching and hitting WAR, which is actually pretty interesting. That's why I kind of have Detroit as like the best of the worst. But their division definitely hurts them, having to play the Indians and the White Sox quite a bit. And I do think Detroit's overperforming a little bit. I didn't really move them up. I wasn't going to move them up into like above like 20th just because I don't think they're that good. I think they're overperforming a little bit. And as the year goes on, you'll start to see them down with the other bad teams. So right now I have them at 25th. At number 24, we kind of have an interesting one with the Miami Marlins, who they're kind of where I expected them to be. Why I have them interesting is because their pitching was really, really bad in April. Now it's gotten pretty good, honestly, in May. The rotation led by Sandy Alcantara with a 3.4 ERA. And they also had guys like Trevor Rogers and Pablo Lopez, who had 2.43 ERAs and 2.43 and a 3.12 ERAs respectively, which honestly helped the Marlins tremendously. The problem was the hitting was really, really bad, to say the least. They only had 112 RBIs, which was 28th in the MLB. Outside of Jesus Aguilar, their offense has pretty much been non-existent. In the last power rankings, I talked about how they kind of have like a string of just mediocre guys that don't do anything. Well, now they're starting to just play mediocre besides Aguilar. So right now the Marlins are near the bottom. I think they're either on last or fourth in the NL East. So that's kind of where I expected them to be, and that's why I have them at 24. For number 23, I did have to move seats. As you can see, the sun was way in my eyes. But at number 23, we do have the Washington Nationals, who, oh my God, this has been the most disappointing team this season, in my opinion. I had them like in like the top 10 preseason in terms of how I thought they were going to do. I thought they could definitely compete for a title, but this is just not, they just have been not it. 3, 2, 1. We did just change seats, and for number 23, we have the Washington Nationals, who, oh my gosh, they've been the most disappointing team this year. I had them like as like a top 10 team at the start of the season, and they just have not played anything like that. Their pitching, I thought they would be like one of the best rotations in the league. Scherzer has been Scherzer, a 2.1 ERA in the month of May, but Strasburg's been hurt, and then Patrick Corbin and John Lester have both been really, really bad, which I did not see coming, especially Lester. Lester had I think he had over a 5 ERA. But the underperformance at both offense and defense. Soto, I thought, would be like an MVP. He's just been like an all-star level. Josh Bell hasn't been great, and Schwarber's doing what Schwarber does. Same thing he did in Chicago, high ISO numbers, lots of home runs, but still only hitting about 220. The Nationals, I don't understand. They just have not, everybody's been playing worse than I expected them to on both offense and defense, which has collectively led them to lose a bunch of games. So I have them at 23rd. At number 22, we do have the LA Angels, who are another really disappointing team. And it's so sad that they have to be this terrible, because I want to see Mike Trout in the playoffs so bad. And especially now that Ohtani is so fun to watch, I want to see him in the playoffs as well. He's been extremely good. Speaking of Ohtani, he's been really, really good, especially at the plate. I believe he's not been pitching much because of an injury, but he's still been hitting 450 home run bombs, which is just disgusting. He has been a little bit injured though, and the bullpen for the Angels has I think it's last in the league in terms of ERA and WAR. Trout has also been hurt and has hit 182 in 15 games this year. And the big surprise is that Rendon has really, really struggled. He's been really bad. I think he's hitting under 220 and has very, very few RBIs. He just has not been a contributor, which is surprising because he was supposed to be their Trout's co-star. Leaving the top, that means the top contributors have been Jared Walsh and Justin Upton, which is really, really problematic for the Angels. looks like it's going to be another year of them missing the playoffs. The injury bug has not helped them, but a lot of underperformances as well. So that is why I have the Angels here at 22nd. At number 21, we have another disappointing team, and that's the Minnesota Twins. Honestly, one of my favorite teams, but they have been so disappointing. They had a really rough start to the year when I made my first power rankings, but I still had them as like a top 3 team. I thought they would bounce back. They did not. They had the worst starting pitching ERA in MLB during May with 5.73. Their two-headed monsters, supposed two-headed monster of Jose Barrios and Kenta Maeda have just been not it. Jose Barrios does not seem to be getting better. He had a 3.7 ERA, I believe, in the month of May, and Maeda had like a 4.3. So just really, really bad for guys that were supposed to kind of set the tone for your rotation, putting up those kind of numbers. And about like half the stars from the Twins are producing. Like Kepler's not been great. I think Sano's been terrible. Nelson Cruz has been pretty good. And then I think Byron Buxton just got hurt. So, and he was playing pretty good as well. So Minnesota, not a lot of things have gone right for them. I expected Barrios and Maeda to be better. And when that happens, you can't have the worst starting pitching ERA in the month of May and expect to win many games. So that's kind of what's happened for Minnesota. I'm now no longer, the days for me ranking them as like a top 5 team are far from over. They are here at number 21. At number 20, we do have the Seattle Mariners, who honestly, hats off to the Mariners. They've been much better than I thought they would be. They're third in the AL West. And yeah, they're kind of interesting as well because they don't really score, but they don't really give up many runs either. It's really, really weird. And it's funny because the pitching numbers, like they're not necessarily great, but if you look at their games, they're like winning games like 4-3, 3-1, those kind of games. And then they'll just have like the random loss where they lose like 12-1. So it's really interesting. Seager and Kyle Seager and Mitch Haniger, who have been the two best offensive players for them at the beginning of the year, they've definitely cooled off, especially Seager, who's honestly playing bad right now. In the month of May, he hit 187 and had a 659 OPS. So those two guys have cooled off, but they are still winning games. So hats off to the Mariners. I don't think they're going to like stay like this. I think they're going to fall more to like 25th and below, those kind of teams. But right now I got to give them the respect. I have them at 20th. At number 19th, we do have the Cincinnati Reds, who, big red flag. I just need to get this out there. Luis Castillo. He's been the big headline player to watch. 1-6 in the month of May with a 6.88 ERA. That is extremely problematic for the Cincinnati Reds. The hitters are still elite, and that's the frustrating thing. It's just that the pitching support and their fielding support have been extremely, extremely bad. Right now, I think the player to watch especially is Jesse Winker, who hit 336, 410, and 655 splits. He also had 11 home runs in May, which has been extremely, extremely good. Guys like Nick Castellanos have been good as well. Mike Moustakas, just kind of the guy. Everybody seems to be contributing on offense, and that's not the problem. I think Cincinnati's like 500 right now, and if the pitching was there, I think they could be well above 500, and honestly, like competing for the weak NL Central title. But they're not, and Castillo's bad, so that's why I have them at 19th. Number 18th, we do have the Philadelphia Phillies, another just middle-of-the-pack team. I've honestly kind of thought of them as just a middle-of-the-pack team. That's kind of where I had them in my first rankings and where I have them now. The best hitters for Philadelphia in the month of May have been Andrew McCutchen hitting 264 and Rhys Hoskins hitting 292, as well as Odubel Herrera hitting 298. So that's all what you like to see. Guys like Gregorius and Harper have not been as good. But Zach Wheeler had a really good month. He had a 2.13 ERA, but the depth is really limited outside of him and Aaron Nola. There's really nobody else to talk about, and I don't even think Aaron Nola was that good in the month of May. And the bullpen is still bad. The bullpen is still very, very bad. They do have the offensive weapons, but I feel like Bryce Harper's kind of underperforming this year. Gregorius has been hurt a little bit. And then you just kind of have those offensive weapons of like surrounding Harper, McCutchen, Hoskins, and Herrera, those kind of guys. So I think Philly is just kind of a middle of the pack team still. I think this is like what we're just going to see from them the rest of the year. Don't expect them to change. I just think that their pitching isn't going to get them to the next level. They're just going to have their offensive weapons that's going to carry them to a few games. So that's why I have them here at 18th. And number 17, another team that has really surpassed my expectations, and that's the Kansas City Royals. They were able to hang in third in the AL Central in a year that they were really supposed to be bad. They're also kind of an interesting offensive team. And, this is kind of what hurts them is they hit for contact a lot, but they really lack like power and hitting home runs, which in a home run driven league kind of hurts them, in my opinion. And their pitching is not good. They have guys like Mike Minor and Danny Duffy, and I believe Duffy was hurt. He should be coming back, but like I said, I think the Royals, they're overperforming a little bit on offense. Their average is much higher than I expected them to be. Like I said, they don't really hit for power. Their pitching's kind of where I thought they would be. The bullpen hasn't really been it as well. But, the Royals, they are winning games, and they are third in the AL Central. I didn't, much like the Mariners, I did not want to put them too high. But I think 17th was the right spot for the Royals. And number 16th, we have, in my opinion, the most confusing team in the league, and that is the Cleveland Indians. How are they 5 games above 500? It doesn't make sense to me. The Cleveland pitching was honestly not that good. They were 25th in May, and the starting pitcher ERA, not that good. They were terrible, in my opinion. And they don't even have that many guys on offense besides Jose Ramirez. In fact, they have nobody on offense besides Jose Ramirez. And they just win games. It just makes no sense to me. And I can't just like look at them just because of the numbers. I put them in just the team on paper, and looking at the numbers, I can't just put them down like in the low 20s. I kind of have to give them the respect that they deserve, and because they're winning games and they're second in the AL Central. So I gave them 16th. Bright spot for Cleveland. The big player to watch, Shane Bieber, who is 3-1, had a 3.44 ERA and 12 strikeouts per 9. This is honestly kind of like I shouldn't say down month, but I'm going to say it's a down month because I expect he's usually better than 3.44 ERA on this 12 Ks per 9. This usually is typical for him. But yeah, Cleveland, what is up? How are they winning so many games? I got to put them at 16th, though, so that's where I have them. And number 15, another disappointing team, in my opinion, that is the Atlanta Braves. And some may say 15th is not that disappointing, but I expected the Braves to be much, much higher than this. Some of the headlines, Max Fried has been rounding into form. I shouldn't say rounding into form. He's been better than the horrendous start that he had. He had a 2.93 ERA in the month of May, and it's still the Ronald Acuna show. I will say that. Ronald Acuna has had a ridiculous year. I think he's my favorite to win the MVP for the NL. Still continues to just mash home runs, steals a lot of bases, hits for contact as well. He is just so fun to watch. And a bright spot for Atlanta has been Austin Riley, their catcher, who was this was kind of like a make or break year for him. He had a great month. He hit 306, 381, 582 splits. So good month for him. But, Atlanta, they're still just kind of floundering, and the lack of contributions on offense outside of Acuna, like guys like Freddie Freeman have been kind of underwhelming, as well as their pitching hasn't been as good as we thought it would be outside of Fried, who wasn't he's their ace, but he's not necessarily like ace material. And then the guys behind him have kind of been underwhelming as well. So Atlanta, hopefully they can turn it around. It's still rather early in the year. As of right now, I think 15th is the right spot for them. Number 14, we do have the St. Louis Cardinals, who I almost had to put them like in the top 10, because at one point they were like a top 18, and now they are not. They started off hot until they were not. They are 13-17 in their last 30 games. And Jack Flaherty has bounced back in May. He was 4.4-1 with a 2.26 ERA. And the rest of the rotation has still been bad. I know it's Flaherty and Adam Wainwright. And I cannot think of the other three guys, as well as their bullpen has not really been it. The big story for the Cardinals is Tyler O'Neill, who I had never heard of until this year. He kind of came out of nowhere, and he had 8 home runs and 21 RBIs in the month of May. Now as like an all-star candidate. So hats off to Tyler O'Neill. Other than that, St. Louis, they have some good weapons. You know, they had Arenado, who had a good month, and Goldschmidt, and I already mentioned O'Neill, but I feel like their lack of pitching depth is going to hurt them. And so I think they're just going to kind of be like pretty good for the rest of the season, unless something really clicks for the rest of the rotation. So that's why I have them at 14th, and I kind of expect them to stay in this range for the rest of the season. Number 13th, big red flag to Yankees fans, and that is the New York Yankees. You know, you figured I think you should hit the panic button if you're a Yankees fan right now, because on paper you guys should be contenders and you're just not. I don't know what it is, but they can't really hit, and nobody besides Judge can hit. And Aaron Judge, like I just said, he had a really good month. Hit 311, 407, 521 splits of batting average, on base percentage and slugging percentage. DJ LeMahieu has been below average. Stanton and Giancarlo Stanton and Gary Sanchez. Sanchez kind of bounced back, but he still is bad, I should say. They have over a 34% strikeout percentage, which is just crazy. That's like over one strikeout in every 3 at-bats. So just terrible. LeMahieu, he is still one of the best second basemen in the game, but his hitting numbers have not been it. On the pitching side of things for the Yankees, it's been good. Garrett Cole's been like good, but the hitting is really the problem for the Yankees. In the month of May, they were 29th in RBIs, second to last. So they have, like I said, they have all the guys on paper. It's just, can they go out and play? And right now they have not gone out and played. I'm not going to drop them too low, but I am going to drop them to 13th. At number 12, we have, if they weren't in the NL Central, I honestly think I would like this team quite a bit, and that is the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers pitching is absolutely rolling. The 3-headed monster of Freddie Peralta, Brandon Woodruff, and Corbin Burns has just been so fun to watch. And because of it, Milwaukee's won 9 of their last 10 games. The average ERA of the 3 guys that I've said was a 1.99 in the month of May. Absolutely incredible for 3 guys. You see some teams like the Mets, spoiler alert, like DeGrom and Stroman, they'll have like something like that, but it's super rare for 3 guys to have combined like 6 earned runs. Absolutely incredible. As well as like they have a top reliever in the game in Josh Hader, and Devin Williams hasn't even been great as well. So their pitching is just so disgusting, but the hitting is where the big flaw. You had an injured Christian Yelich, so his numbers were rather bad. But a bright spot is that Avisail Garcia had 22 RBIs in the month of May with Yelich out. So you need more contributors like that, like Keston Hiura, Lorenzo Cain. You need those guys to step up, because while Yelich has been putting up good numbers, besides this month when he was hurt, and the pitching has been lights out, you really need to take advantage of that as a hitter. And the hitting depth outside of Yelich, if they can get that, I think Milwaukee can honestly go pretty far. So right now I have them moving up the rankings at number 12. At number 11, just outside the top 10, we have the Toronto Blue Jays, one of my favorite teams, specifically for their young core that is, still hitting a lot of home runs, 49 to be exact. They did the league in slugging percentage. The core, they just have so many, I don't even know if I can call it the core. They just have so many offensive weapons. Guerrero, Bichette, Biggio, Simeon, Gurriel, just absolutely loaded on the offensive end. The player to watch is Marcus Simeon, who had an incredible month. Hit 353 batting average, 419 on base percentage, 647 slugging percentage, 8 home runs, 22 RBIs, and a 293 ISO. Absolutely incredible. He's been my favorite pickup. Well, I think pickup that's worked out the best so far this year, to go along with Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero, who also hit just a ton of home runs. The pitching side is where things start to get a little bit dicey, because Hyun-Jin Ryu has been great, but the depth is just not there. And you can't expect Ryu to carry. So that's why I kind of worry about the Blue Jays. And I don't think they're like a World Series contender at all. I don't even think they'll go that far in the playoffs unless they make some moves at the deadline to go and get Ryu some help. Because if they don't, I don't see them going very far. I think the young offense can only carry them so far. At number 10, we have my team, the Chicago Cubs, who have turned it around to say the least. The biggest headline has been the bullpen. The bullpen has been the best in the league by far, led by guys like Craig Kimbrell, who is finally, after 3 years of us paying him $40 million and not turning out, he's finally having a great year. And guys like Andrew Chafin and Ryan Tepera, who have just kind of come out of nowhere and really been good. The bullpen has been the best in the league by far. Another big headline of coming out of nowhere, Patrick Wisdom hit 6 home runs in 7 games for the Cubs. I had never heard of this guy until 2 weeks ago, and now he's literally carrying the offense. Bryant is also having a really good year. But I will say this, similar to Toronto, the pitching depth is where I think holds back this team, because Hendricks is supposed to be the ace, and even he has not been playing like an ace. The Cubs are really regretting the Darvish trade. Well, I hope they're regretting the Darvish trade, because he's having an incredible year in San Diego, and he would have been the ace that making Hendricks the number 2 guy, I think would have helped the Cubs tremendously, because outside of Hendricks, they really have nobody. And so that's why I don't think they're going to go that far in the playoffs this year. It's just because their pitching depth is just a huge hole in the Cubs. So I have to respect them, and I put them at number 10, but I don't think they'll stay at 10. And I don't think, even if they do make the playoffs, I don't think they're going to go far. But, we still got a lot of time to go see what's going to happen in the rest of the season. Number 10, your Cubs. At number 9, we have the Houston Astros, another kind of weird team who they honestly were better than I thought they were. Something to look at. Luis Garcia has had a great May for a starting pitcher 5. He put up really good numbers, which is, in my opinion, I think the biggest thing is help for Zach Greinke. Similar to Toronto, he can't do it all. And while the offense is putting up really good numbers, the bullpen, I think, kind of stinks. Starting pitchers are a little bit overrated, in my opinion, as well. So having contributions from the lower end guys so that Greinke doesn't have to do it all come playoff time. But the hitters are rounding into form. In the month of May, Altuve had 8 home runs and Correa had 6. And they had 171 RBIs, which I believe was either first or second in the league. So the hitting has been really good for Houston. Everything seems to be clicking. So yeah, like I said, Houston seems to be able to win games with their hitting. But the questions are, how far can their pitching take them? That seems to be the question with a lot of these teams kind of in this range. 3 teams in a row. It's like the hitting is good. They have like 1 or 2 good pitchers, but how far can their pitching depth take them? So I think if Houston makes some moves to improve their bullpen and honestly get another starting pitcher, because I believe Verlander is out for the rest of the season, I don't know how far Houston will go as well. I sound like a broken record. I've said this 3 times in a row, but Houston, they have 1 game, so as of right now, I have to put them at 9th. At number 8, we do have a team right in front of the Astros, and that is the Oakland Athletics. I don't understand the Athletics. I called them the most confusing team. I still think they're the most confusing team. How are the A's so good? Their players aren't even like incredible. Their pitchers aren't even good, but they're good. It makes no sense whatsoever. They were top 10 in hitting, starting pitching WAR, and bullpen WAR. So they're clearly a very well-rounded team. And the most interesting thing about Oakland, in my opinion, is their 5-man rotation, which honestly could be like the best. No, I'm not going to say it's the best, but it's just listen. They got Chris Bassett, Sean Mania, and a few other guys who are all good. But the best pitcher out of those 5. I can't remember which one it was, but he had an ERA of like 3.1, 3.2, which you're like, ooh, that's not good for an ace, right? But the number 5 pitcher, the worst, had an ERA of like 3.7, 3.8. So all 5 of their pitchers are like in the mid, like 3.5. I'll have like a 3.5 ERA. So, or it kind of balances out. So all their pitchers are like kind of the same. So it's really, really weird. But it seems to be working for Oakland. They're black voodoo magic. The player to watch is left fielder Mark Canha, a player I have not heard, or Canha, maybe I'm botching this last name, a player I've never heard of until this year. In the month of May, he hit 273, 395, and 545 splits and had 8 home runs and 15 RBIs. So good job, Mark Canha. But yeah, Oakland, whatever's working for you, keep it rolling, because they're winning games, whatever the system is. That's why I have them here at 7th. At number 7, I do have the New York Mets. How can you not talk about the Mets without talking about Jacob deGrom being the best pitcher in the MLB by a country mile? In the month of May, he continued his dominance by posting a 0.78 ERA, 13.3 Ks per 9, and had a opponent batting average of .111. Absolutely incredible. He's the best in the game. Lindor is heating up. Francisco Lindor, who was the big move for the Mets in the offseason, he's heating up, but not in full form, in my opinion. And Dom Smith has been the best hitter for the Mets in the month of May. The hitting, they've had a lot of injuries, so they're not, some of the guys that they've started for a few of the games have not been like their true starters, like who they would start come playoff time, and that's why their hitting numbers are not exactly ideal. 24th in the league in home runs and 22nd in RBIs in the month of May, but nonetheless, I still think that they are a top 10 team. Their pitching depth is not their. DeGrom's the best, but then they have Stroman and Taijuan Walker as well, who have both been really, really good. And the Mets, they have a lot of offensive weapons, so that's huge in my opinion. I'm super high in the Mets. If their record was a little bit better, I think I'd have them as a top 5 team. Some don't even have them as top 10, which I think is just blasphemy. So I think 7th is the best spot for the Mets. At number 6, we do have the LA Dodgers, who honestly still have, I think, the best rotation best on paper team in baseball, but they're 3rd in the division, which is crazy. 3rd in the division, but they're a top 16, and they have like a championship roster. A couple players to watch on. You guys have already heard me rant about how stacked they are on offense and defense, or on offense and like the pitching side. Led by Trevor Bauer himself, Bauer outage. He's been a player to watch. He's only has a record of 3-3, but a 2.34 ERA and 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. As well as that, Max Muncy, the first baseman, has really, really stepped it up in May. He had a 1.057 on base percentage plus slugging percentage and had 10 home runs, so he was absolutely mashing in May. Having guys step up like this, like Muncy did, is really, really good. They're incredible, but they've lost some games. Like some guys have not been performing up to expectations. But I do still think they're a top 6 team, and I have the potential to move them up to number 1 by the next time. If I do that by the next time these rankings are made, I would not be surprised one bit. Right now, they are 6th. Starting off the top 5 is the San Diego Padres. And how can you not talk about the Padres without talking about Fernando Tatis? He is a top 5 player in the league. Could win the NL MVP if he keeps this up. Keeps up some of his unbelievable hitting, and he's surprisingly like stealing a lot of bases too, which is good for him, good for the Padres. His defense is lacking a little bit, but it doesn't matter. His hitting definitely makes up for that. He's picked up right for where he left off from his injury. Snell and Darvish have been the duo that we expected them to be, more so Darvish than Snell, I will say. Snell did not have a great month of May, but Darvish did. 2.38 ERA and 9.26 strikeouts per 9 innings. And the bullpen has been really, really clutch. I did not know this until I was doing research, but the bullpen picked up 13 wins and 11 saves in May, which was huge because, like I said, Snell wasn't great, and then guys like Chris Paddock and Dinelson Lamet also kind of struggled at times, so having the bullpen pick them up was big. The Padres have all the keys that they need to win. It's just that I have 4 teams like playing better than them, winning more. But, I think 1 through 6 are interchangeable between who's the best team. That's why I have the Padres here at number 5. At number 4, we do have the Boston Red Sox. And for me, I think their offensive depth is their best strength. They have so many weapons who've been playing good. Verdugo, Bogarts, who else? Devers, right? Rafael Devers, the other guy I was thinking of, and then JD Martinez as well. So many good hitters for them this year. And guys like Hunter Renfroe as well and Verdugo have definitely surpassed expectations, and that's huge. If you want to be a top 5 team, you got to have guys that you don't think are going to be great, but then they end up having like all-star caliber seasons. That's what Renfroe and Verdugo have definitely done. The Boston starting pitchers as well. I didn't think they would be up to much this year. They were tied for first in WAR in the MLB, led by Nick Eovaldi. He had a tremendous month as well. Boston, they have all the pieces they need to win. As long as their guys can keep it up, I'm super happy to see the Red Sox. Some of these guys have tremendous seasons. And I hope they keep it up. I really do. And I think they can, honestly. I think the Red Sox can definitely compete for a title. And I don't think they're the best team in the league, but they're definitely top 4. At number 3, I never saw this one coming in a million years. The San Francisco Giants. The player to watch for them has been Kevin Gausman because he's been absolutely unhittable this month. 6-0 with a 0.61 ERA. And an opponent batting average of 153. Unhittable. Almost like DeGrom level for the month. Better than DeGrom for this month, not overall. But it's been DeGrom and Gausman competing for the Cy Young in the NL so far. Another interesting thing is Brendan Crawford and Buster Posey having career years. What? Who would have seen this coming? Especially Brendan Crawford, who his batting splits have been 308, 413, and 648, respectively. So absolutely incredible. I never saw this thing coming. And the most important thing for the Giants, which is why I kind of have them above the others, is because they're beating the good teams. They've beaten teams like the Dodgers, the Padres. They are ahead of both of them in the stacked NL West. And the Cubs as well. They took 3 out of the 4 on the Cubs, who have been playing good as of lately. So the Giants, they're beating the good teams, which is just what else do you need to see from them? They don't necessarily have one big star on offense, and that's a little bit concerning to me, but I cannot ignore the success of the Giants right now. Everything's been going right for them. That's why I have them at number 3. At number 2, we do have the South Side Chicago team. That is the Chicago White Sox. I think they definitely have the potential to be moved up to number 1 in future videos, but I still think that there is one team better than them. I still stand by the fact that the White Sox have the best 5-man roster in the MLB. I think May just proved that even more. Dylan Cease was great. Lucas Giolito, he hasn't been like full Giolito form like he was last year, but he's been good as well. Lance Lynn, terrific year. I love that pickup. And Liam Hendricks, oh my God. He's literally did not give up a run in May. And he played 16 games. He played 16 games and did not give up a run. Ridiculous. And the hitters for them in the White Sox lineup, they really play well off of one another. Because what I mean by that is they have a good balance of contact hitters, guys that can just get on base. Shout out Adam Hardick, Yasmani Grandal, and contact hitters and sluggers. But yeah, their depth is absolutely incredible with Abreu, Grandal, Madrigal, Eloy. Eloy is hurt though, but they still have Yohan Moncada. Absolutely incredible. Like I said, best 5-man in the league. The White Sox, they are absolutely ridiculous. That's why they're number 2. But they are not number 1 because number 1, the best team in baseball right now, is the Tampa Bay Rays. And honestly, on paper, I would take the White Sox 10 times out of 10. But I cannot ignore the success of the Rays. They have been the hottest and the best team in baseball. They've won 16 of their last 20 games. Ridiculous. And the funny thing is, Glasnow hasn't even been the best Tampa Bay pitcher this month. That award would go to Rich Hill, who had I believe he had let like a ERA like below 1.5. So crazy. Whereas Glasnow was good, but not like crazy level, not on like Gosman or DeGrom level. But they're finding ways to win. Meadows has been the best. Austin Meadows has been the best hitter of the Rays in May. He had 10 home runs, 39 RBIs, and had a .610 slugging percentage. His bat is definitely heating up. I love Austin Meadows. And then they just have, like, similar to last year, they have just a bunch of kind of small-name guys. Like, they have G-Man Choi, Randy Arozarena. I'm sure you remember them from last year. And those guys are just all contributing as well. All contributing on offense, and then they have good enough pitching depth to where they're just winning. That's why I have the Rays at number 1. If their contributors can just keep on doing their thing, whatever's working in Tampa Bay is really, really working. They are winning so much, and right now they are the best team in the MLB, in my opinion. So that wraps it up. Second power rankings for the month of May and June, a little bit of June, but I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Please consider subscribing if you guys are new. It would really mean a lot to me and Josh. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like, comment down below, anything, if we did good, if we did bad. Thank you guys again for watching, and goodbye.